Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Teves Development. Today we're going to be going over something that is confusing for a lot of people, but hopefully we can make this a little less confusing. The constructor. Constructors are like construction workers. They build things, specifically objects. Almost everything inside of Java is an object. You can think of a string as an object. A object in real life could be a car or a house. Specifically, what we're going to be working on today is building a house, and we're going to use constructors, like constructing workers, to build this house. So inside of objects have specific attributes or properties. When we think of a house, we think of the square footage of a house. We think of how many bedrooms a house has, how many bathrooms a house has, maybe the color of a house. These are all specific things that are tied to that specific house, and we can think of that house as a single object. Now, not every house is the same, right? So we can't have one house that has 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and is 1,500 square feet. That's not going to apply to all the houses. So we can use something like a constructor that can take in different information to build a different house. So hopefully that all makes sense so far. Let's jump into it. So like we said, we think of a few properties with a house. We can think of square feet, right? And this would be an int because it is a number. I don't think we would have any half square feet or 3/4 of a square foot. Let's just worry about square feet as whole numbers now and use an int. The next property we have bedrooms. Again, let's count. I don't think we could have a half bedroom. We have full bedrooms. Another property would be bathrooms. Now we can have half bathrooms, so let's use a double instead of an int and make this bathrooms. And one final thing, just to run this out at a even number, would be a house color. So let's say private string color. So right now we have specific attributes tied to this house, right? We have the number of square feet in the house, we have the number of bedrooms, we have the number of bathrooms, and the color of the house. Now, what can we do with this? How do we build a house? So that's where constructors come into play. So if we went into our main method and we built a new house, we would say house equals new house. And we would build a new house. So if we ran this, everything would run successfully. But our house is empty. Our house it exists, but think of it as an empty plot of land at this point. We don't know how many bedrooms it has, how big it is, the color of it. We don't know any of these attributes because we're not creating them. So that's where constructors come into play. So every object by default has a default constructor. That would be done as house with no parameters, and we build this. And when this is created, we could say something along the lines of built an empty house. So now if we go back to our main method, we run this, we'll see that we built an empty house. But again, we still don't have any properties, so we could add properties by doing it one way, such as using setters. So we could say something along the lines of public void set square feet, and then we could take in a square foot, so we would say int square feet, and then we would set it to this square feet. So we would do this dot square feet equals square feet. Now this might be a little bit confusing. the way to look at this is this dot square feet ties to the actual property inside of the object, and this square feet is actually being passed in. And we know the difference between them by using the this keyword. But to make it a little bit easier, let's say something along the lines of passed in square feet, so it's easier to see the difference. So now we did this with square feet. Now we also need to do this with bedrooms. Passed in bedrooms. And then we can do that again here, passed in bedrooms, and then bedrooms. And so on, so forth with bathrooms. This should probably be a lowercase actually. Passed in bathrooms. And then we can do this. And the last one would be color. I'm going to show you a cool little trick real quick. If you actually hit Command N on Mac, on Windows, it's a different keyword. I think it's Alt Insert. This is all programmable. You can set it to be whatever you want. You can actually go in here and have it auto generate a setter. So we can have it generate this color and it'll actually do this for us. Pretty neat, huh? One mistake is this needs to be a double because our property is a double up here. So now that we can set all the colors, we need a way to get those colors out, right? So we could have a house and say house dot set bathrooms to 2 bathrooms, right? House dot set bedrooms to 2 bedrooms. House dot set color, we'll say it is white. And then the final house dot set square feet, we'll say it's a 1,500 square foot house, right? So now if we run this, it still says we built an empty house. Why? Well, that's because we are using our constructor to build an empty house still. So we can actually delete this because this is going to be created for us by default. And now when we run it, it's still going to be using that default constructor, but we're going to have an empty house here, and then by the time we get down to line 7, our house is going to have a few different properties. We're going to have the bathrooms, the bedrooms, the color, and the square feet set. But this doesn't necessarily help us due to the fact that we can't get all of this information yet, right? So we have something called getters as well. Do this by creating a getter. So if we create a public int, because we need the square feet, and square feet is an int, get square feet. We're not going to take in any parameters because we don't need them. We can return then square feet because we are going to be setting it here. Again, I know we haven't gotten to constructors yet, but if you can follow along with this so far, you're going to be in really good shape. So again, I'm going to auto-generate the rest of these getters. And now if we go back to our main, let's say we print out house.get bathrooms, right? At this point, if we print this out, we should see a 2 here. So let's go ahead and run this. And we see 2. And then so on, so forth. We can print out the bedrooms, the color, and the square feet. We'll see 2, white, 1,500. Now, hopefully you've been following along, and you can see that we have created this empty house, and then once we created the empty house, we actually modified it to put on 2 bathrooms, 2 bedrooms, paint it white, and we created it being 1,500 square feet. Now, constructors allow us to do something a little bit easier, so we don't have to go through and set all of these individually once we create them. And that is going to be a non-default constructor. So we can do this the same way, public house, and now we want to take in arguments. So like how we set square feet where we took in an int and we had passed in square feet, we can do this same thing inside of our constructor. So when we generate the object at the start, it will have all of this information without us having to individually set each one. So we can pass in a int passed in square feet. We can also pass in int passed in bedrooms, and then double passed in bathrooms, and then string color. We'll also name this passed in color so we can see it easier. So now that we're building this house, we need to set all of these individually, right? So instead of setting each one with its own method, we can set all of them collectively inside of this constructor. So how do we do that? Well, it's very similar to what we did here. We know we can set the square feet that is tied to this object by doing this dot square feet equals passed in square feet. So we can actually do the same thing here. And then we can do the same thing with passed in bedrooms. Bathrooms. And color. So now we're creating a house with all of these attributes and properties, but we're doing it all at once instead of having to go through and set them individually. So let's get rid of this. And now we're going to pass all of our information into this house. So a quick trick, if you hit Command P inside of IntelliJ, it will actually tell you all the parameters it needs. So we can see int passed in square feet. Let's say it's a 2,000 square foot house. It has 4 bedrooms. It has 2 bathrooms. And the color is yellow. So now when we run this, we should see the information that we populated here. Correct, yep. 2,000 square feet. It has 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and the color is yellow. So this is a lot easier by using a constructor to construct this object than creating an empty object with the default constructor and then setting everything individually. So I know this video covered a lot, right? We covered getters and setters and constructors and objects if you were unfamiliar with them. There's a lot to unpack here. Maybe rewatching it would help, but I hope this answers all of the questions you have. If you have any questions, please leave it down in the comments below. If you liked the video, please smash that like button, subscribe for future videos as we'll be releasing them weekly. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I hope you have a better grasp on constructors now. We'll see you next time.